Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Small Talk with Shibby, my LCS post-game interview content. I am here joined by Cloud9's jungler, Blaber, who has just recently clinched a top 2 spot, a bye in the LCS playoffs. And Blaber, I want to go back to an interview I did with you about a month ago. Your words exactly were, I don't think anybody has been impressive in the LCS yet. It takes a lot to impress me. Has that changed at all? Obviously, you lost the game yesterday to NRG. Are they impressive? Has anybody impressed you? Or are you still kind of, nobody is really that good?
No, yeah, I still feel the same way. I don't think anyone's that good. I think that we're also playing very poorly. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Perfect. I'm glad that you still have that same killer mentality. And so going into the final week, obviously your playoff spot was locked in, right? Like obviously top 6 was locked in playoffs. Were you guys, trying to prep for a bye scenario, right? Were you guys trying to say, okay, let's get these games, let's win them, we want the bye? Or were you guys maybe more prepping and looking ahead for maybe playoffs, like maybe experimenting on some new compositions? Obviously on the Ivern today. What was that mentality coming into the final week? Because you're not a team like FlyQuest or Immortals who has to clinch playoffs and who's do or die. You guys are pretty much set in stone in regards to where you'll be.
I definitely want, I think we all definitely wanted to win. Like, I don't think,
Of course.
I don't think we're testing anything new, to be honest, this week. I think we're just playing the same stuff we've always been playing.
Mhm.
Obviously, this is my first Ivern game, but I've been playing Ivern Alliance scrims. It just happens to be the first game that I played it. But I have been playing Ivern in scrims already, so it's not like it's new for me. It's just like the first time I played it on the LCS stage. And I don't think we were really thinking about the bye or anything. Obviously, it's nice to have a bye and to end in first place, but we're just trying to focus on winning all our games, going to playoffs.
And it seems to me that with these super weeks, it's an interesting sort of, I'm not going to say trend, but observation is that anytime Cloud9 loses the game, right, in the super week, the very next game, you guys immediately like dial it up to 20. You guys play very clean, right? It was 1 week, it was the team TL loss that you guys lost to them, and then you guys immediately decimated that week. Obviously, this week, you guys lost to NRG and immediately decimated TSM. Is there something in you guys, like maybe where it's like when you lose, you kind of just like really take it to heart and like it's just like a GG for the next team? Like I really feel bad for the team that has to play Cloud9 after a loss.
I think it's more of a coincidence. I think that we did play better today than yesterday for sure. I mean, I still think we had some really uncharacteristic mistakes. Like our first dragon was just really bad. I don't even know why I'm doing it there, to be honest. And I should have done it earlier, but regardless, we played the fight poorly too, even from doing the dragon. And then, yesterday we played very scared. We also had a lot of bad map movement yesterday. So I think in general we just weren't playing so good. But I think it's I don't think it's more of a coincidence that we're smashing the team after we lose than like something that we're thinking of like, oh, we're mad, we're gonna play better the next day.
Yeah, it's just something I've noticed. Like after you guys, it's just like, oh, like the next team it's like a 20-minute victory or like a 22-minute victory. Speaking a little bit kind of outside of the realm of the game and more kind of in regards to your performance as a whole, you're obviously an early MVP candidate. Do you feel like you're playing at an MVP level? Because I think from the eye test, I think you're clear cut above, I think, all the other junglers. Do you feel that same way?
I think I've been playing better this split than I did last split. Last split I wasn't really sure why I was in the MVP contention, but I'll take it. But I think that this split I have been playing better than last split, or at least shown better games. But I don't feel like super happy with my games this split either. I think I had a lot of really bad Vi games. Usually in our wins, I think I'm doing pretty good, but like I did play pretty bad in some of our losses. I mean, hopefully I win it. I'm not gonna say I don't want to win it, but I don't think I've been playing like amazing, but I do think I've been playing like good, I guess.
And I've spoken to some other junglers throughout the weeks, right? And they've talked about the jungle meta being a lot more playing for their lanes, right? They don't like they play the Maokai, they play this kind of stuff. it seems as though your team is, even on certain picks like the Ivern, even on certain stuff like different picks, right? More passive picks, I would say your team kind of looks to play around you and looks to maybe, use tempo advantage, stuff like that, to play with you, and you kind of make the calls. Do you feel like your style is contradictory to maybe what other junglers are saying in regards to like, oh, it's not as interactive, it's not as proactive for a jungler to play right now in this current meta? Like, what is your kind of take on that?
Um, I mean, I think in general, any junglers just don't farm at all. Um, I do farm more than other junglers, like even across the world. So I will say like I have been farming a lot more in general, but I think that in general, any junglers don't farm as much. Um, and that sometimes is good, on some champions you don't need farm like Poppy and Ivern. But for me, like my play style, I would say is not really affected. I can play any style in my opinion. I
Of
think
course,
when
yeah, I think
I
it's
started
clear.
my career, I couldn't play every style. I could only play the carries. I was terrible at the tanks. I was, not great at, you know, non-engaged champs, I would say. Um, Obviously I still have my strengths. I think I'm a lot better at carry jungle meta. And I'm a lot better at farming jungler meta and engage junglers because I see angles and stuff. And sometimes when I play champs that don't need to engage, I overforce. I think that's like a weakness of mine for sure. But I do think I can play any meta, and I'm not like um I wouldn't say it's like contradictory to my playstyle for sure.
And I was able to speak to Sven a couple weeks ago, and he, was super, super positive on the idea that, this year for the West might be one of the best for international competition, simply because your split is ending earlier. You guys have more time to boot camp, so on and so forth. They gave a kind of a list of reasons as to why this might be the best kind of year for them. Not the same question I want to ask you. I do want to ask more on the intricacies of boot camping in certain areas and going to international competition and leveling up. For you, kind of what has been the best way to level up your game? Is it the international scrims? Is it just practicing in international solo queue, in some cases Korean or Chinese solo queue? Is it that kind of environment that really levels up your game? Is it like more on the idea that when you guys are going for international competition, all 5 members all the time have the exact same goal? They're all try-harding, right? Whereas maybe sometimes other teams in NA, maybe not all of them have the same goal in mind, have the same mentality. What kind of has been the most effective for you to level up your game going international?
I would just say playing against better competition, especially specifically in scrims. Solo queue is
Mhm. Of
obviously nice. Korean solo queue is for sure better than any solo queue, no doubt about that.
course.
The players are a lot better, but I would definitely say I learned the most from the scrims. Generally in NA, I never feel like I would say pressured or like outclassed like in our scrims, and um, I definitely do feel that sometimes internationally, where like I'm getting pressured a lot in my jungle. Um, I don't know the matchup sometimes as well as the other jungler, and it's just like I can learn a lot, and for me, that's really valuable. I think at MSI, like when I first started scrimming PLG, like I was having a really rough time. Um, but as the scrims went on, I was able to play pretty well, I would say. So it's like being able to scrim versus the good teams and good players, you can learn a lot because even though like for me personally, I don't think I'm bad or anything, even at the world level.
Mhm.
And it's more about like understanding when what I'm doing is a mistake, because sometimes you don't realize what you're doing is a mistake if like you aren't punished for it. Like you can self-evaluate your play all you want, but if it's not being punished, it's like it's hard to see all of the mistakes that you're making basically.
Would you say it's even harder for a jungler specifically, right? Because when I spoke to Fudge, he's like, "Oh yeah, I can recognize that the only reason this worked on wave 3, so on and so forth, was because I'm a better player." But like for jungle, it's a little bit different, right? Like you can get away with some sort of pathing because you're not maybe being punished, but maybe like, is it harder for you to self-assess as a jungler as opposed to maybe laners self-assessing like how they play the lane, when they push, when they don't push and stuff like that? Do you think it's a lot harder since, and obviously since you said you're not getting punished on it, it's harder to recognize for you?
It's less about being punished like one on one, because like that just doesn't really happen in the jungle anymore. It's not like you're getting
No,
counter
of
jungle.
course, yeah.
That's just not jungling anymore. In some metas, that is what jungling is, but right now it's more like how they play with their laners, how they move, and then take your camps with their laners, or um, securing objectives, or like playing for your camps, your second red buff or something. Um, Pathing in a way where like they are able to dive someone I'm not defending, or stuff like that. It's also internationally, like generally your lanes are struggling more, right? Not that my laners are bad or something, but it's just like realistically, the Eastern or even like the best European laners are a lot stronger than the NA laners, right? So it's just something that you have to figure out along the way.
Final question here, since we are running out of time. Last season, I think NRG, or formerly CLG, was the team that kind of took you to 5 games. Obviously, this season they've been performing very, very well against you. Are they the team you personally are looking out for? Like, how do you feel in regards to who the team is that could challenge C9 the most in a best of 5 series?
No, I'm not really looking out for NRG. Really, I'm not really looking out for any team. I think GG is, I would say, definitely the second best team in the league. Or I mean, some people might think they're the best, right? But I think it's just us and them. And I think in the past we've always been able to beat them. But I do think that GG are probably the toughest opponent. But specifically, looking out for other teams, I wouldn't say like I'm really thinking about, about that.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. I love the confidence. Blaber, any message to the C9 fans that are watching?
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.